Libra dear heart, a big move is coming, and not just in the physical sense. I don't mean a casual shift or a temporary decision. I mean a soul-level relocation. One that will ask you to pack more than just bags. It will ask you to pack truth, grief, and every version of you that's quietly outgrown the life you've been living. Have you felt it lately? That strange tension in the air, the kind that doesn't come from outside noise, but from within? That silent pressure building behind your eyes or in your chest that says, it's time, even when you're not sure what it means? If so, you didn't arrive here by accident. This message has been divinely placed in your path. And here on Zodiac Whisper Tarot, we're going to explore what your soul has been waiting to hear, a revelation that may bring tears to your eyes, but will also bring lightness to your spirit. Libra, you're on the edge of something enormous. On October 21, 2025, during a full moon that lights up your opposite sign Aries while the sun sits directly in your sign, a cosmic doorway opens. This full moon isn't just a lunar event, it's a celestial exhale, a karmic turning point. The universe is creating a rupture between what was and what must now be born. In this reading, I've pulled cards that speak louder than words. The World, Death, Ace of Pentacles, the Empress, Two of Cups, and at the end the Star. These aren't just cards. They are chapters of a sacred story. And in every one of them, you're being asked to choose something bigger than fear, transformation. You're not being kicked out of your life, Libra. You're being called into the one you truly belong to. It may look like a move, a new job offer, a city you've never lived in, or even a long overdue ending that clears the way for a fresh beginning. But beneath all of it is something deeper, the quiet, holy moment when you realize you can no longer delay your becoming. This is not about running away. This is about returning to the version of you that's always known it deserved more than survival. So, if something in you has been stirring a tear, a chill, a knowing, I want you to take a sacred moment right now and type this into the comments below. I am ready for my next chapter, even if it makes me cry first. Write it not for me, but for you to claim this shift, to affirm this moment as yours. Let the act of typing those words seal your alignment with what's to come. And before we begin this journey together, allow me to say thank you truly. Every like, every comment, every subscription you offer this channel deepens our spiritual circle. You're not just supporting Zodiac Whisper Tarot, you're expanding your own connection to divine timing and cosmic truth. It's an honor to read for you. Stay with me, Libra. What the universe is about to show you next might just change everything. The sky does not simply light up for no reason. It speaks. And right now, it is speaking to you, Libra, in a language older than time, through the precise orchestration of stars, planets, and patterns you may not fully understand, but that your soul does. As we move toward the full moon on October 21, 2025, a door swings open not just in the cosmos, but in your internal world. This is not just a phase on the lunar calendar. It is a spiritual alignment between your heart and your highest path. The sun stands in your sign, illuminating your truest self, while the moon reflects it back from Aries, creating tension, yes, but also clarity. This isn't discomfort for the sake of pain. It's a divine pressure meant to push you through a threshold you've delayed too long. 6 months ago, around the new moon in April, you may have whispered a quiet wish, perhaps even unconsciously, about a life more aligned with your truth. Whether you asked for freedom, healing, stability, or love. That wish has been held by the universe ever since, nurtured in silence. And now? The full moon is the harvest. What was invisible is about to show itself. But here's what's vital. This clarity may arrive disguised as a disruption. This is where courage comes in. The kind of courage that lets you pack your life into boxes not because everything's falling apart but because everything is finally coming together. Astrologically, Aries is the sign of initiation, raw action, and self-trust. So when the full moon occurs in Aries, opposite Libra, it creates an energetic crossroad. You are being asked to balance your natural desire for harmony with the need to take bold, decisive steps. This isn't the time for analysis paralysis or waiting for external approval. This is a moment to trust that your heart is qualified to lead. If you don't move when the window opens, Libra, the universe will begin rearranging things on your behalf. Not to punish you but to realign you. Even the numbers are echoing the call. October 21st reduces to the number 3, the number of birth, movement, and divine timing. It is the trinity of mind, body, and spirit stepping into alignment. 3 is the whisper that says, it's time to create. It doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to participate. Don't wait for certainty, follow the vibration. And if you've been feeling restless, unable to focus, or even emotional without explanation, this is the shift preparing itself inside you. Support for this transition comes not just from above, but also from within. Think of color as a bridge. During this time, surrounding yourself with ivory white can help cleanse residual doubt and open the heart. Soft blues will calm your voice, helping you speak your truth without fear. And silver or metallics are perfect to activate your crown, helping you receive higher guidance even in quiet moments. These aren't just color palettes, they're energetic keys. In moments like this, it's also powerful to pause and reflect on something much deeper, the possibility that what you're walking into isn't entirely of your own making. Sometimes, the changes you fear most are the ones heaven has been preparing for you all along. In the stillness, you may sense it, that sacred unfolding. In my own quiet moments, I've heard stories and witnessed lives transform through what seemed like sudden detours. A woman who lost her job on a Monday and by Friday, accepted a role across the country where she met her soul family. A man who signed divorce papers, and weeks later walked into the church he never dared to enter, only to find the peace he had spent years chasing. I share this not as idealism, but as a reminder, grace often comes disguised as disruption. And yes, sometimes it moves the furniture of our lives without asking permission. But it always prepares the space for something better. Maybe this is your space being cleared. Maybe this is the threshold. So ask yourself gently, if this change was written for you before you were born, would you say yes? If your body says yes before your mind can catch up, you're already in motion. Trust that. Trust yourself. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're exactly where you're meant to be, just on the edge of something holy. There are certain chapters in life that do not end with slamming doors or dramatic exits, but with quiet realizations and subtle shifts that feel like growing out of an old skin. Libra, this is one of those chapters. You're not running away. You're finally coming home to yourself. And I want to acknowledge the incredible strength it takes to do that, to choose growth when staying still would be easier, to choose truth when pleasing others has become second nature. When the World card appears at the beginning of your spread, it doesn't just signal an ending. It confirms that something you've worked through emotionally, spiritually, energetically is finally complete. It could be a job that no longer sparks your mind, a relationship where love has turned into duty, or a family pattern you've outgrown. You've been carrying it with grace, maybe even in silence, believing that if you just held everything in balance long enough, things might shift. But the truth is, balance isn't the same as nourishment. And what no longer feeds your spirit must be lovingly released. Then comes the Death card, often misunderstood, but truly one of the most powerful allies in the deck. It asks you to honor what has ended, not as failure, but as a sacred rite of passage. There's no need to fear this energy. Death, in its highest form, is transformation. It's the composting of the old so the new can take root. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. This card reminds us that we are not here to stay the same. We're here to become again and again. And that can only happen when we surrender what we've outgrown, even when it's familiar. I've seen time and time again that when people finally let go of what's dead in their lives, something miraculous happens. One woman I worked with had been holding onto a home that carried the weight of generations. She didn't want to disappoint her family, so she stayed. But the moment she released it with gratitude, not resentment, she was gifted a creative opportunity in a city she once dreamed of, and met the love of her life 2 months later. That's what happens when you create space. Life rushes in. Right now, your body may be processing these changes faster than your mind. You might find yourself crying more than usual, waking up at odd hours, or feeling physically drained in ways you can't explain. This isn't weakness. This is energy shifting. Your system is clearing the emotional debris that's been quietly building. Let it move through. Allow yourself the space to rest, to nourish, to feel. This is also the time to bring your awareness gently to the choices you've been postponing. Not out of blame, but out of love. It's so human to stay in what's familiar even when it no longer fits. But I want to offer you a gentle truth. You don't need to keep holding what's already let go of you. Sometimes, faith means releasing the branch before the next one appears. Sometimes, it means walking away without a map but knowing that the ground will appear under your feet with each step. If you're wondering what to do next, start with this: pause. Breathe. Ask yourself honestly, what am I still carrying out of habit, not out of purpose? The answer might not arrive in full sentences, but your body knows. Your dreams know. And they are speaking to you now. In the quiet corners of our days, there are whispers. A new life is calling, not to shame the one you're leaving, but to honor the one you're ready for. Let this be your permission slip to choose yourself, not selfishly, but sacredly. You're not leaving your old life behind. You're returning to the light within it, and stepping fully into your own. Sometimes the biggest opportunities don't shout, they whisper through small shifts that rearrange your life gently but permanently. After the emotional release of the last chapter, Libra, the energy begins to settle. And as it does, something very real and grounded begins to emerge. The Ace of Pentacles shows up not as a vague promise but as an unmistakable offer. This is an invitation that may come in the form of a job offer, a chance to move, or a creative project that sparks your fire in ways you haven't felt in years. And yet, this opportunity is about so much more than work or money. It's about roots. It's about foundation. It's about a place both physically and emotionally where you are no longer surviving, but finally thriving. What makes this energy different is how tangible it is. This isn't theory. This is a signed contract, a key in your hand, an address that shows up in your dreams and then lands in your inbox. It might start with something practical like an apartment near a city park, a workspace that's filled with natural light, or even a small room where your creativity breathes again. But beneath all of that is the deeper truth. You are being given the chance to choose a life that fits the person you are becoming, not the one you used to be. When the Empress appears in the position of the new home, the energy is lush, fertile, and healing. She is not just beauty and grace, she is stability through nurturing. This card tells us that where you're going is a space designed to support your emotional well-being, your creative gifts, and your quiet joy. You might not even know how much you've been craving softness until you feel it settle into your bones. Think of it as a sacred return to comfort, a return to your inner sanctuary. A place that not only holds you, but mirrors back your worth. I've seen how environments can heal what words cannot. I remember a young woman who had struggled with anxiety for years. She finally accepted a job in a city she once visited on a childhood vacation. The apartment she moved into overlooked a lake, and every morning, she'd sit on the small balcony, breathing in the light and silence she never knew she needed. Within weeks, her energy began to shift. She started writing again. She slept through the night. She smiled without guilt. That wasn't magic. That was alignment. And Libra, this is what's waiting for you now if you say yes. There's a unique kind of peace that arrives when you walk into a space and feel, without words, I've been here before. It may be the light, the scent, the way the floor creaks under your feet. It might be the way the wind moves through the curtains, or the way your body relaxes before your mind even registers it. When that happens, pay attention. That's resonance. That's energy remembering itself. That's a signal from the universe confirming this is your place. As you step into this phase, I encourage you to prepare your physical space as if you are preparing to host something sacred. This doesn't mean rushing out to redecorate your entire home. It means slowing down enough to notice what already wants to shift. Maybe it's rearranging furniture to allow more sunlight in. Maybe it's adding plants, soft textures, or creating a cozy space where you can write, read, or reflect. These changes signal to your subconscious that you are ready to receive, ready to feel safe, ready to welcome something new. Treat your environment the way you would treat a guest of honor, because that guest is your next chapter. And above all, remember this: you were not chosen to merely move, you were chosen to land. To arrive. To belong. Let your space be the container for that truth. And let your heart receive it fully. It's often said that the deepest kind of love arrives not when we're chasing it, but when we're finally at home within ourselves. And that's exactly the kind of energy surrounding you now, Libra. After all the shedding, after all the shifts, and after anchoring yourself into a space that reflects who you are becoming, something sacred begins to unfold: the arrival or renewal of love. But not the fleeting kind. Not the love that demands performance, explanation, or sacrifice of your truth. No, this is a soul connection. One that recognizes you instantly, because it's already known you through lifetimes of silence. The presence of the Two of Cups not once, not twice, but 3 times in your spread is no coincidence. That repetition, rare and potent, is a signal. A divine echo reminding you that someone whether known or yet to be met is orbiting closer now. They are not being drawn to the version of you that tolerated, compromised, or contorted to be loved. They are being drawn to the version of you who finally chose yourself. And in doing so, you've become magnetic. Not loud. Not demanding. Simply resonant with truth. For those already in a relationship, this moment may feel like an awakening between you and your partner, a remembering, as if you're seeing each other again with fresh eyes. The kind of gaze that doesn't look for flaws, but for truth. If there has been distance, distraction, or emotional static, this is the energy that clears the signal. You may find yourself speaking more openly, reaching for each other without the weight of old fears, or rediscovering intimacy through the ordinary moments that suddenly feel sacred. And if you are walking this chapter alone, do not mistake your solitude for lack. You are not alone, you are in the process of becoming a place where love can rest. You're making room. And when the time is right, someone will step into that space not to fill it, but to honor it. You won't need to explain the ache you've carried. They'll feel it. You won't have to prove your worth. They'll see it reflected in your presence. The connection will feel as if the conversation began long before you even met. And perhaps, in some way, it did. From a law of attraction perspective, love cannot truly land in a space of fear, desperation, or lack. It blooms in self-recognition. That's why the Empress energy before this, the nurturing, grounding return to a beautiful home and self, was essential. You've become the fertile soil where partnership can take root, and more importantly, where it can grow. This is not about fairy tales or perfection. It's about mutual respect, shared values, and the sacred act of choosing each other again and again. In times like this, I often encourage people to pray not for a specific outcome, but for clarity and peace. A quiet prayer I return to myself, especially when emotions run high, is this: if this love is meant for me, let it stay. If it's not, let me release it without bitterness, and bless the space it leaves behind. There's something powerful about surrendering to what's real without clinging to what isn't. You don't have to be ready for every part of the journey. You just have to be open. Let your heart stretch gently. Let yourself be found without chasing. Let yourself be loved, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. What's coming is not random. It's recognition. And it begins with the brave act of saying yes to yourself. And just when you thought it was over, just when you finally surrendered the past, released what no longer fit, and softened into the unknown, that's when it happens. Quietly. Softly. The star appears. It doesn't arrive with thunder. It doesn't rush in with urgency. It simply glows. And that glow, Libra, is your confirmation that everything you've done to come back to yourself was not in vain. The tears. The confusion. The longing. They weren't wasted. They were water. And they've been nourishing something underneath the surface, something that is now, at last, beginning to bloom. The star comes after the tower in the tarot, which is no small detail. After upheaval, after the chaos that breaks us down, there is this, a stillness, a breath, a spark of possibility. This card reminds you that healing is not only possible, it's already happening. Even if you don't see it yet. Even if all you have are subtle signs and quiet whispers. The energy now is tender, like skin freshly healed. It invites you to be gentle with yourself, to expect goodness again, and to trust that hope isn't foolish, it's divine timing. In astrology, stars are navigators. Ancient sailors used them to cross oceans. In much the same way, the star is guiding you back to your inner north. And you may begin to notice little flashes of alignment, repeating numbers like 111 or 444, prophetic dreams that feel like memory, or unexpected messages that arrive just when you're about to give up. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are gentle nudges from the universe saying, "Stay with it. You're on the right path." If you feel like something inside you is falling away right now, let it. The identity you once wore, the one built from survival, fear, or self-sacrifice, is no longer needed. You've outgrown it. You've graduated. And just like a seed splits before it sprouts, parts of you are breaking open, not to hurt you, but to make room. You are being prepared for softness, for truth, for something that feels like peace, not the kind that comes from avoidance, but the kind that comes from alignment. One quiet practice I often share during this phase is simple but powerful. Light a white candle, open a window, and write a letter to your old self, the one who fought, who hid, who held it all together. Thank them. And then release it. Burn the letter if you feel called to. Not in anger, but in reverence. It's a way to return that version of you to the light, with gratitude for how far they brought you. This is the sacred middle, where the soil is still damp and the shoots are just beginning to rise. And while it may not feel dramatic, this is where the real miracle begins. You may not recognize the shape of your future just yet, but you'll feel its warmth, like morning sun through a curtain. You'll know by the way your body relaxes in stillness, by the way your breath slows when you allow yourself to hope. If something in you feels like it's loosening or shedding, don't resist it. That's your soul making space. And if you feel called, I invite you to anchor this moment by commenting below, "I accept the falling away to be reborn in my light." Let those words be your gentle agreement with life. Let them echo into whatever's next. Because the star doesn't just promise something better. It reminds you that the better version of your life and of yourself was always coming. You just had to clear the space. And now, Libra, the light is returning. Quiet, sure, and wholly yours. You made it here, Libra, not by accident, not by chance, but because something in you already knew this message was for you. Not a prediction. A remembrance. A sacred homecoming. This moment you're standing in isn't about leaving anything behind out of fear. It's about stepping fully into the life you were always meant to live. You're not running away. You're returning to the kingdom that's always been yours, even if, for a while, you forgot how to find the door. As you prepare to enter this new space, I want you to imagine it not just as a house or a city, but as a sanctuary. A temple where your soul can finally breathe, where you no longer shrink to fit the expectations of others, and where every corner is built with intention, not obligation. See yourself stepping through that doorway with reverence, holding nothing but truth and tenderness in your hands. This is not just a move. This is a sacred relocation of your spirit. A divine migration to a life that honors all the quiet work you've done behind the scenes. I once knew someone who made the bold choice to leave what was comfortable. She had a steady job, a life that looked fine on paper, but her spirit was withering. One day, She packed her things and moved to a city where she knew no one, but her heart felt called. 2 months later, she met the person who would become her partner and co-creator in life. Together, they built a project that would ripple out and change lives in their new community. That kind of shift wasn't luck, it was alignment. And that same kind of alignment is unfolding for you now, Libra. Can you feel it? I know change can be terrifying. Even when it's good. Even when it's blessed. But what if you stopped asking, what if it doesn't work out, and started asking, what if this is the beginning of everything I've prayed for? Sometimes, faith is simply a willingness to step forward when nothing is guaranteed but everything feels ready. Your intuition has never led you astray. Trust it now. And maybe, just maybe, this message today is God's way of whispering reassurance into your weary heart. That the plans being made for you are filled with hope, with promise, with grace. Not because you earned it, but because you were created for it. The life ahead of you is not just about rebuilding. It's about blooming. So let me ask you, what do you need to release so you can fully receive? What old version of yourself is ready to be thanked and set free? What door is calling your name not just to be opened, but to be walked through with your whole chest? If your heart has been thudding gently while watching this, if your soul has stirred in recognition, don't leave this space without anchoring that energy. Take a breath, and leave a comment below. I pack my bags with my heart, and I choose myself. Let that be your energetic signature. Let it echo through the ethers. Let it begin the unraveling of everything that no longer fits. And before we close, I want to thank you truly. For being here. For being open. For listening with your spirit. Every like, every comment, every share, and every subscription brings your energy deeper into this soul-aligned community we're building together here on Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your presence means the world. And this space, this little corner of the cosmic internet, will always have room for your light. Libra, your journey is sacred. And the road ahead? It's golden. Don't be afraid to walk it. You're not walking alone. You're walking home.